Beyond incredible, Billionaire's shocking lesson when a waitress exposes a heartwarming truth. In the heart of Ambridge, where the whistle of the steam train mingles with the laughter of townsfolk, Amy stood behind the counter of the Breakfast Nook. The aroma of fresh coffee danced through the air, warming the souls of the regulars who gathered there each morning. As a single mother working double shifts, Amy was a powerhouse of resilience, serving up pancakes and smiles despite the weight of her struggles. Her two bright-eyed children, Lily and Jake, filled her heart with purpose. They were the reason she trudged through long days and sleepless nights, dreaming of a better future, a future that sometimes felt just out of reach. As the bell above the door jingled, a striking figure walked in. Mark, the tech billionaire with a reputation as sharp as his tailored suit. He walked into the diner like a whirlwind, his shiny shoes reflecting the fluorescent lights. The locals stared, and whispers filled the room. Amy couldn't help but share an ironic laugh with her friend at the counter. Their little diner was miles away from his world of glass towers, and yet, here he was. "Coffee?" Amy asked, her voice cheerful. "Yeah, whatever," he replied, dismissing her with a wave. That single comment felt like a slap. But Amy wasn't about to let it get to her. Instead, she took a deep breath, channeling her frustration into a renewed spark. That afternoon, as she served up slices of pie and shared snippets of her life, her stories transformed into humor. She weaved tales of juggling bills and nursing sick kids, her laughter ringing through the diner's walls like music. To her surprise, people began to gather, drawn to the authenticity of her struggles. It became more than just a diner, it became a sanctuary of shared experiences. Regulars began to come in just to hear her latest story. It felt good. Damn good. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Mark, still occupying a small booth in the corner, found himself a reluctant audience. He watched, captivated, as Amy lit up the room, igniting a movement that would spread through the diner like wildfire. For the first time, he felt the warmth of a community rather than the cold calculations of boardrooms. But just as things began to blossom, troubles stirred. His company announced plans to bulldoze the diner, setting the stage for upscale condos. The uproar hit Amy right in the gut. She steeled herself, standing up among her friends, and saw the fire ignite in their eyes. They rallied together, fueled by the spirit of resistance. Amy became their voice, leading them in a fight to save not just the Breakfast Nook but the heart of their town. Just as Mark saw the strength in their unity, a question gnawed at him: could he choose to stand with them? Could he break free from the confines of privilege and truly embrace this world teetering on the edge of transformation? As she stood before the crowd, Amy felt a swell of hope, a fire born from the ashes of doubt. Both their futures hung in the balance. What will happen next? Could the diner withstand the storm? Only time would tell. The sun dipped low over Ambridge, casting long shadows that danced through the diner's windows. The Breakfast Nook buzzed with energy, a blend of defiance and hope that filled the air. Amy stood at the counter, heart racing as she stared at her friends, her family who sat hunched together, brainstorming ways to save their beloved diner. Each face reflected a story, a struggle, and now a shared fight. "We need a plan," Amy said, determination breaking through her usual cheerfulness. "We can't let them take this place away from us." "Yeah. We should flood social media." Lily, her daughter, chimed in, her innocence shining through her words. "Everyone loves the Breakfast Nook. Let us make a video." Mark shifted uncomfortably in his booth, feeling an unexpected pang in his chest. He had come to unwind after a long day of meetings, but the growing enthusiasm was stealing his attention. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was meant to be part of this rallying cry. "Social media is a great idea. Let us show them what we have here." Jake, too young to fully understand the weight of their crisis but eager to contribute, clapped his hands, matching the energy that was slowly building within the diner. Amy grabbed a piece of paper and began jotting down ideas. A film showing all the wonderful moments we've shared here, the laughter, the stories. How this diner means something to everything around it. Let people feel that connection. As the chatter continued, laughter mingling with passionate exclamations, Mark stood up, taking a step toward the growing group. He hesitated, the intersection of his world and theirs looming large. I can help with the production. The buzz shifted instantly, eyes turning to him with curiosity. You can? Amy's brows furrowed slightly, uncertainty mingling with gratitude. Why would you want to? Mark took a deep breath, vulnerability creeping into his voice. I've been watching, and I realize I don't really know what it means to connect with people outside my bubble. I've spent so much time focused on numbers and success, I forgot how it feels to belong somewhere. Like here, a warm silence fell over the diner. People exchanged glances. Compassion, empathy, and understanding melted away any preconceived notions about who he was. Let us show the world who we really are, Mark continued, confidence slowly surging within him. Let us create a movement, not just for the Breakfast Nook, but for all the places like it. We can tell our stories, share our experiences. It might just be the fight we need. Excitement spread through the crowd like wildfire. They started brainstorming project ideas, filled with stories that echoed with universal emotions. This was more than just about saving a diner, it was about defending community, identity, and dreams. As the evening wore on, laughter rang out, mingling with the buzz of creativity. Mark found himself wrapped in the comfortable chaos, feeling lighter yet more grounded than he had in years. Yet as Amy looked at him, there was that flicker of uncertainty once again. Why are you really doing this? She asked, her gaze searching his. Why should we trust you? Mark felt the weight of her question. He couldn't mask the truth any longer. While he was stepping into their world, could he really embrace it even if it meant appending his own? I want to learn, he replied, feeling the sincerity of his words. After all this, I want to be better. For myself, and for others. Time hung in the air after his admission. The diner's light poured over them, a soft glow, hinting at hope and possibility. But as night deepened into a soft blanket of stars beyond the diner's window, Amy couldn't shake the feeling that their battle was just beginning. Would Mark truly stand by them when faced with the full force of corporate ambition, as the community prepared to fight? A decision lingered at the fringes of Amy's awareness, a choice that would alter their paths forever. Would she dare to trust a billionaire, or would it lead to heartache she couldn't afford? The clock ticked on. Tension crackled in the air. As anticipation built. What would she decide? And what secrets of Mark's past might yet rise to challenge them all? The diner was buzzing with energy, but beneath the laughter and chatter, uncertainty fluttered like a restless bird caught between the shadows and the light. Amy stood quietly, a fresh cup of coffee steaming in her hands, her mind swirling with thoughts of trust and betrayal. Could Mark's intentions really align with theirs? Her gaze landed on Lily, who was animatedly discussing ideas for the video. The way her daughter spoke, excitement lighting up her eyes, was a bittersweet reminder of what they all stood to lose. It wasn't just a diner, it was a home, a tapestry woven with memories of late-night laughter and early morning rushes. Amy took a deep breath, trying to gather her thoughts. All right, team. What do we want to show in our video? She called out, forcing a smile. The room erupted with ideas, moments of laughter over scrambled eggs, the quiet comfort of a shared pie, and the innumerable jokes exchanged over a cup of coffee. Each suggestion came wrapped in emotion, reflecting what this place truly meant to them. Outside, the sky turned from deep blue to indigo, pinpricks of stars beginning to appear. As night wrapped around the diner, she felt a sense of urgency grow within her. Mark cleared his throat, drawing everyone's attention once more. I think we should also include the challenges we face, he said. The realness of it. People relate to struggles. It's what makes communities stronger. Exactly, Amy agreed, feeling a flicker of hope. We can share our fears about losing the Breakfast Nook. And maybe even tell why this diner is worth fighting for. Can we also tell funny stories? Jake piped up, enthusiasm spilling over. Like that time we spilled pancakes everywhere? Laughter erupted, and she found herself chuckling along. But as the banter continued, a nagging question loomed in the back of her mind: what would the world look like after the video was made? Would it truly sway people in their favor, or might it draw unwanted attention? Mark caught her eye, his expression thoughtful. You seem quiet, Amy. You're carrying a lot of weight, aren't you? His insight surprised her. It's just, what if this doesn't work? What if we share our story and it doesn't change anything? Then we will have shared our truth, Mark said, a warmth in his voice. And maybe that's enough. His confidence offered a slight comfort, but it also ignited a spark of determination in her. She looked around the diner, at the faces she loved, and felt a swell of emotion. We can't just sit back and hope for change, she declared. We are going to show them our strength. Together. As the night deepened, they each took turns brainstorming ideas. Hearts raced as they built a sense of community, enthusiasm rising like yeast in bread. But even amid the laughter, Amy sensed an underlying tension with Mark's presence. With every new plan and every chuckle, her heart whispered a warning. Could vulnerability truly transform into strength? And, more importantly, would this journey towards connection with Mark mean risking everything she held dear? Then, just as the creativity reached a peak, the door swung open with a sharp jingle, and the cold air rushed in, carrying with it the distant sound of sirens echoing down the street. Mark turned sharply towards the noise, a flicker of tension crossing his features. What was that about? Lily asked, her excitement fading slightly as the nervous energy shifted the room's ambience. I'll check it out, Mark said, glancing at Amy. Stay here. As he stepped outside, Amy's heart raced again, but this time with an uneasy concern. She had entered this battle trusting him to fight alongside them, but what battle awaited them now? They could save the Breakfast Nook, but could they withstand the emotional fallout when Mark's past collided with their present? The diner held its breath, the stale coffee scent mingling with fresh determination. Would they be prepared for what tomorrow might bring? Amy's heart pounded as the door swung shut behind Mark. The laughter and camaraderie in the diner felt fractured now, like a cracked window pane with cold air seeping through. The chattering voices faded into a murmur as her anxious mind raced. What if something's wrong? Jake murmured, glancing nervously toward the doors. The little spark of joy that had filled the diner moments before dimmed, as uncertainty began to fill the gaps. He'll be fine, Amy said, forcing confidence, though her voice wavered. He just wanted to check. We can keep brainstorming. But thoughts of Mark's furtive glance and the distant sirens consumed her. What did he know that they didn't? Did it have to do with his unresolved past? The questions gnawed at her resolve. Lily picked up on her mother's distraction. Mom? She said softly. Are you okay? Amy forced a smile. Just thinking about the video. It's going to be great. Maybe we should film some of the stories we tell, like about the time you burned the muffins for the bake sale, Lily teased, trying to lighten the mood, but the attempt to joke faded without an answer. Amy couldn't jump into that light-hearted moment, not when shadows lurked in the back of her mind. Did you really burn muffins, Mom? Jake asked, eyes sparkling with mischief. Yes, but that was ages ago, Amy replied, her mind elsewhere as she fiddled with her coffee cup. Would memories like that be enough to keep the diner alive? Would they be enough to keep them whole? Minutes felt like hours. When Mark finally returned, the door swung open with a heavy sigh. His expression was serious as he scanned the room, and for a heartbeat, silence fell over them, like the moment before a storm. Everything okay? Amy ventured. Yeah, it's just a local fire. No big deal, he said, his voice steady but tight. But Amy noticed the way his hands clenched into fists. We were just brainstorming what to include in the video, she said, trying to keep her voice light. You know, our stories, our moments that mean something. Good. We need to show everything, Mark said firmly, clearly trying to regain a sense of normalcy. Show how important this diner is to all of us. Lily raised a hand. Can we put in embarrassing moments too? Like, how Mom occasionally tells the same joke twice but thinks it's a new one. Laughter erupted, lightening the mood just a bit. The unease faded momentarily. But as Amy watched Mark's smile waver, uncertainty tightened in her chest again. Did he truly belong here? Sure. Amy agreed, excitement bubbling through her. Every joyful piece, every challenge. All of it tells who we are. As the evening wore on, they strove to weave the memories into an emotional tapestry, sharing giggles and heartfelt moments, but Mark seemed lost in thought. Each small laugh cracked open something deeper between them, but a dark cloud still flickered in his eyes. What are you thinking about? Amy asked him gently after a long stretch of silence fell again. I was just thinking about my past, he replied slowly, almost hesitant. How it might affect all of this. Everyone's got baggage, Mark, Amy said softly. What matters is how we carry it forward. His gaze met hers, vulnerable yet intense. I hope you're right. They shared a charged silence, their surroundings fading into indistinct shapes. She hoped they weren't stepping into a trap of old secrets together. Just then, the door flew open again, and the distant sirens returned, louder and more urgent. This time, a heavy sense of foreboding filled the air, covering their hearts like a cold mist. Do you hear that? Jake said, his childish excitement dimmed with concern. Amy's stomach twisted as her gaze darted to Mark, who seemed frozen, a storm of emotions battling underneath his calm exterior. What were they really building towards? The weight of possibility hung in the air. Would they be fighting against the shadows that haunted Mark's past? Before they could voice another word, a man in a dark coat stepped through the door, his face shadowed as he scanned the diner with a stern expression. Who here is Mark? He asked. Voice low. The diner's atmosphere shifted once again, thickening with tension. Amy's breath hitched. Would Mark's past finally come crashing down on them? The stakes had just been raised. Mark's heart raced as he faced the man in the dark coat. The entire diner seemed to hold its breath, the lingering warmth of laughter now replaced with a cold reality. Those piercing eyes felt like spotlights, and the pressure mounted. Is this about the fire? Mark asked, the words escaping like breath that had been trapped in his chest. He felt the weight of Amy's and the kids' confused glances on him, a pressure that twisted his insides. The man stepped closer, the creaking of the diner's floorboards echoing his approach. No, it's not about the fire, he replied, his voice flat. But I need to speak with you. Privately. Mark instinctively took a step back. Whatever this is, it could wait. A chance like this doesn't come often, the man insisted, his tone sharp. It's about your past, and it's urgent. Amy's mind raced. She had known little about Mark's history, just enough to feel the shadows glimmer behind his strong facade. They found camaraderie in shared stories and laughter, but what lay hidden beneath? Mark, she said carefully, her voice barely above a whisper. What is going on? He hesitated, stealing a look at the serious-faced man before turning to her. It's complicated. A surge of protective instinct crammed into Amy's chest. You don't have to face this alone. Whatever it is, we're here for you. Mark held her gaze, searching for reassurance. The warmth in her eyes, filled with understanding, pulled at him. He felt the warmth of family locking him in place, but the pull of his history felt stronger. With a sigh, he nodded and faced the man again. Fine. Let us talk. The man gestured toward the entrance, and they stepped outside, leaving the diner behind. As the door closed, Amy could see their figures silhouetted against the diner's glowing neon sign. Fear twisted in her gut. What was being discussed? The silence inside the diner weighed heavy with unspoken questions. Jake shifted anxiously in his seat, and Lily's brow furrowed, echoing their mother's concern. What do you think he wants? She asked, her voice a blend of worry and innocence. Amy shook her head. I don't know, sweetheart. I just hope he'll be okay. Minutes dragged on like hours. The clinking of dishes and muffled laughter that had filled the diner earlier felt shallow now. Amy's thoughts spiraled, jumping from one potential nightmare to the next. Was Mark in trouble? Had he broken the law? Was there something sinister lurking in that man's visit? Eventually, Mark returned, but the lightness that had once danced in his eyes was gone. The door swung open, and he stepped back inside, his face an unreadable mask. The warmth of familiarity that had surrounded them moments ago was replaced with cold uncertainty. "Is everything okay?" Amy asked, her heart hammering in her chest. Mark met her gaze, and she could see the turmoil beneath his calm exterior. "No," he said quietly, almost as if the weight of the truth would shatter him. A chill settled in the diner, the air electric with anxiety. A shiver ran through the room as everyone quietly waited for what was next. Fear mingled with hope, and it seemed everything hinged on Mark's next words. "I need to talk to all of you," he said finally, glancing briefly at the door, the man still standing outside as if he were a ghost looming over them, pulling everyone from the warmth of familiarity into an unknown darkness. The children looked confused, and Amy's heart sank. Whatever came next was going to change everything. "Mark? What happened?" she pressed, trying to keep her voice steady. He drew in a breath, and a shifting dread filled the space between them, mixing with a sliver of hope. "I think you all deserve to know the truth about my past." As the diner echoed with an anxious silence, Amy realized they were on the brink of something big, something that could redefine their lives. The question now was whether the truth would free them or shackle them further into darker shadows. "Are you ready to hear it?" he asked, looking at each of them in turn, the weight of his question hanging in the air, thick with tension. What revelation awaited, and would it ultimately bind them together, or would it tear their world apart? Mark shifted his weight from one foot to the other, the burden of his secret heavier than he'd anticipated. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown. Amy watched him with wide eyes, the kids fidgeting quietly. It was as if the diner had come to a standstill, the only sounds those of Mark's racing heart and the distant hum of traffic outside. "Listen," he started, his voice barely above a whisper, "there's something from my past that's come back to haunt me. I thought I had escaped it," but he hesitated, searching for the words, feeling the tension in the room tighten like a noose. Amy reached out, her fingers brushing against his arm. "You can tell us, Mark. Whatever it is, we're here." Mark looked down at her hand, a flicker of gratitude coursing through him. He finally took a deep breath, steeling himself. "When I was younger, much younger, I made choices. Bad ones. Things I'm not proud of. I did things for money, for survival that I'm ashamed of." His eyes darted towards the door again, as if the man in the dark coat was waiting to reclaim him. Lily's small voice broke through the silence. "Did you hurt someone?" Mark shook his head vehemently. "No. I never hurt anyone like that. But my decisions put me in a position that could hurt others now." The gravity of his words dropped like a stone, echoing in their minds. Jake, trying to make sense of it all, asked, "Are we in danger?" "Not if I can help it," Mark replied, a desperate determination crinkling his brow. "But I can't keep hiding it from you. The man who just spoke to me, he's part of it. He knows about my past, and he's here to collect a debt not just of money, but of loyalty and secrets." Amy felt a chill run down her spine, the vivid imagery of Mark's past playing out before her eyes. "What kind of debt?" she pressed. "A dangerous one," Mark admitted, regret spilling from his lips. "I thought I could leave that life behind. I built a better future than I found you, but it's not that simple. I thought it was gone forever, but he's here to remind me that it's not." The weight of fear and confusion clouded the atmosphere, merging with the faint smell of coffee and sizzling bacon. Amy felt tears pricking her eyes. "All this time, you've been carrying this alone, haven't you?" Mark nodded, anguish etched on his face. "I was scared. Scared that if you knew, you'd see me differently. I just wanted to protect you and the kids from my mistakes." In that moment, Amy's heart swelled with a mix of empathy and love. "We can face it together," she insisted. "You don't have to do this alone again. We're a family." He looked at her, the spark of hope igniting just a little in his weary eyes. "I don't want to drag you into this. This isn't your fight. Maybe it is, Jake chimed in softly. You took us in. We're in this together, right? Family sticks together. You always tell us that. Mark smiled, a flicker of warmth cutting through the cold knot in his chest. I just never expected this to happen. It feels wrong. But it's also a chance, isn't it? Amy's voice held a quiet resolve. To face what's been haunting you. Mark's throat tightened, the love he felt for them swelling alongside the uncertainty that lingered. He glanced once more at the door, the chilling reminder of the man outside lingering like a ghost. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe, he finally vowed, a fierce determination igniting within him. But we need a plan. A momentary silence enveloped them, the weight of their decision hanging thick in the air. Outside, the looming figure in the dark coat remained a constant specter of Mark's unresolved past. Let us start from the beginning, Amy suggested, her voice steady. As they stood together, forming a united front against the shadows of Mark's past, every glance was filled with an unbreakable bond forged in trust and love. But lingering questions remained. What would they discover together, and could they find a way to escape the truth that threatened to unravel everything? Can we really confront this? Mark asked, vulnerability creeping in again, and in that moment, Amy knew they were on the brink of something monumental. Would they find a way to redefine their family, or would dark secrets shatter the fragile peace they had built? Mark's hands trembled slightly as he shifted his gaze from the door back to his family. Each passing second felt like an eternity, the weight of the truth pressing down on him. He could see the concern in Amy's eyes, the determination in Jake's, and the innocence in Lily's. How could he lay all this burden on them? Okay, he began, sounding more resolute than he felt. Here's what I know. The man outside, he's someone I used to owe a lot. I made deals. Dangerous deals. He exhaled, gathering his thoughts. I thought I could work my way out of it. I thought I could disappear, start over. But they don't let go so easily. He's like a ghost from your past, isn't he? Amy said softly, her eyes sparkling with understanding. Mark nodded. Exactly. His name is Victor. He was someone I trusted at first, but trust is a dangerous game. He paused, his heart racing at the thought of Victor's cold smile. He needs something from me again, and it's not money. It's information. It's something I promised I'd never tell. Jake leaned forward, clearly trying to wrap his head around the weight of this revelation. What kind of information? Mark hesitated, caught between the past and the present. There are people, dangerous people, involved. The kind that won't stop at anything to get what they want. I didn't just walk away clean. I have secrets, maybe some that even I don't fully remember. Lily's small voice broke through, laced with innocent fear. What if they come for us? Mark felt like the ground had disappeared beneath him. The last thing he wanted was to show fear to his children. No one is coming for us, he reassured her, his voice firm yet soothing. I promise. That's why we need a plan. I need you all to trust me. Amy squeezed his arm again. We will. Just tell us what you need us to do. Mark glanced at the entrance again, the looming presence of Victor still fresh in his mind. For now, let us get out of here. He pushed back his chair, the clattering sound breaking the oppressive atmosphere. We need to find a safer place to talk. The family gathered their things, moving in a quiet hurry which echoed their silent agreement to face this together. As they exited the diner, Mark couldn't shake the feeling of eyes watching them. The easy normalcy they had known suddenly felt like a distant memory. I know this is a lot, he said, his voice low. But if we stick together and stay one step ahead, we can get through it. Amy nodded, her expression determined. What's next, Mark? How do we confront Victor? We'll have to lure him into a conversation. I'm not sure how it will go, but I need you to promise that you'll stay close. No matter what happens, I will not let anything hurt you. They walked down the street, the urban world bustling around them while they moved in a haze, their minds racing with possibilities. Mark felt the electric pull of urgency, questions spiraling. Would they truly be able to face Victor? A voice rang in his head, repeating the mantra he'd held onto for so long: protect them. At all costs. But could he? The emotional chasm between his past and present gaped wide. As they reached the car, Mark stood back for a moment, gazing at his family. Each of them represented hope, a beacon of light against shadows closing in. He whispered to himself, I won't fail them. But he couldn't shake the feeling that this would be only the beginning of something much darker and more dangerous. Mark? Amy called softly, breaking the spell of his anxious thoughts. He turned to them, resolute. Let us go. We need to find out what Victor wants from us and why he's come back now. With a shared breath of determination, they climbed into the car, their resolve solidified. The world outside swirled around them, oblivious to the storm brewing within. And as they pulled away, Mark's stomach churned with uncertainty. What lay ahead could reshape everything. Could they survive the reckoning to come? Would they emerge stronger, or would this finally tear them apart? Questions lingered like a storm cloud, heavy and pressing. The road ahead was murky, and with it came the realization that there were no guarantees in confronting the past. But one thing was clear: they were ready to unravel the threads of Mark's old life for the sake of their new one. And as they drove toward whatever awaited them, Mark couldn't help but think, if this is a fight, what's the price of losing? Mark gripped the steering wheel tighter as they merged onto the main road. The car's tires hummed against the asphalt, but the sound was drowned out by the rushing thoughts in his mind. Where were they going exactly? Safety felt like a moving target, and he could feel the weight of his family's trust pressing heavy on his shoulders. Dad? Jake's voice cut through the silence, pulling Mark from his reverie. What's the plan? Where should we go? Mark stole a glance in the rearview mirror. Jake's face bore a mix of concern and determination. It mirrored his own, and for a split second, Mark was proud of the resilience shining through his son. We'll head to that old cabin in the woods where we used to go camping. They don't know about it, so it should be safe. Lily perked up at the mention of the cabin. The one with the big tree in front? Can we roast marshmallows? Mark smiled faintly. Yes, exactly. But we might have to skip the roasting this time, he said, trying to keep her spirit up. We're just going to lay low for a while. Amy, you'll keep an eye on Lily, right? He asked, turning toward her. Of course, she replied, her voice steady. Whatever it takes. The confidence of her words steadied him in this chaos, but he couldn't shake the anxious knot in his stomach. As they drove further away from the city, the landscape shifted from urban sprawl to sprawling greenery. The trees blurred into a vibrant green mass, their sturdy trunks promising a sanctuary. He couldn't help but remember the laughter and warmth the cabin used to hold. Could they find that comfort again, even amidst the turmoil? Mark thought of Victor, that shadowy figure who was always one step ahead, ready to bring the past crashing into their present. He couldn't afford to let fear take root. He had to outsmart Victor this time. Do you think he'll come after us? Jake asked, breaking Mark's thoughts once more. I don't know, he admitted. But I'll do everything I can to protect you guys. That's my promise. Dad, remember that time we thought we lost the map and you said we'd find our way no matter what? Jake's face softened with nostalgia. You always find a way. Mark felt a swell of pride mixed with sorrow. Yeah, I won't let you down this time either, he said, keeping his tone light despite the tension in the air. As they approached the cabin, a wave of relief washed over him. They parked near the entrance, surrounded by towering pines that swayed gently in the breeze. For the first time in what felt like ages, they could breathe. Let us get inside, Mark said, still alert. Together, they gathered their things and headed toward the cabin. The familiar creak of the floorboards was strangely comforting, echoing their shared history. Once inside, Mark checked each window and door, securing their temporary refuge. I want you all to stay close. Keep quiet if anyone comes, we need to be ready. The room felt cramped, but it was also a bastion against their ghosts. Lily plopped down on the floor, playing with a loose thread from the carpet, and Amy watched her daughter with an unreadable expression. Mark caught her eye. "We'll get through this," he reassured her, wishing he could believe it wholeheartedly. Just then, a loud knock shattered the calm. The sound reverberated through the cabin, ice-cold dread creeping up Mark's spine. "Did you hear that?" Jake whispered, eyes wide. "Yes," Mark said, his voice starting to feel raw. "Stay quiet." Mark's heart raced as he peered through the window, the weight of uncertainty crashing down again. A familiar silhouette stood outside. It was Victor. Everything he had feared came rushing back to him, a life intertwined with danger and betrayal, now threatening his family. The truth now loomed larger and more perilous than ever. "What do we do?" Amy asked, her grip tightening on Lily. Mark clenched his fists, knowing that whatever came next would change everything. "We face him," he replied, though a tremor laced his voice. "It's time to confront the past." But uncertainty lingered in the air like a tempest. What was Victor truly after? And what untold truths would surface in their confrontation? Mark felt the ground shift beneath him once more, life hanging by a delicate thread. As they braced for whatever storm Victor would unleash, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that they stood at the threshold of something profound. Would they triumph, or would this encounter unravel them completely? Mark held his breath. The loud knock echoed again, louder this time, demanding entry. It was a sound he both dreaded and needed to face. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about his family's safety, their peace. "Stay behind me," he instructed, trying to keep his voice steady. He moved slowly towards the door, the wooden floor creaking under his weight. Each step felt like he was walking toward an uncertain fate. He clenched his fists, bracing himself for whatever threat lay beyond. "Why is he here?" Jake whispered, panic flickering in his eyes. "I don't know," Mark said quietly, watching the doorknob jiggle slightly under pressure. "But we're not letting him inside." The knocking resumed, more insistent. "Mark, let us talk," a voice called from the other side. That voice sent chills down Mark's spine. It was smooth, inviting even, but laced with a layer of darkness that he could sense. "You think it's over? You think you can hide?" Victor continued, his voice taunting. "I'm just here to talk, old friend." Mark exchanged a glance with Amy, whose face was pale, eyes wide. Lily, still on the floor, seemed oblivious to the tension, playing with her thread absently. How could they let Victor in? The last time they faced him, the consequences were dire. "What do we do?" Amy asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Mark felt the weight of that question. Should they wait? Should they try to outsmart him? There had to be a way to turn the tables without risking Lily's innocence. "Jake, can you find something to use as a weapon?" Mark instructed. "A sturdy stick, anything." Jake nodded and slipped down the hallway, his footsteps muffled by the walls. "Mark, we can't keep hiding forever," Amy said, her voice steadying. "We need to know what he wants." "Talking is a trap," Mark replied, making eye contact with her. "He always wants something. It's never just a conversation." "But what if he offers us a chance? Maybe we can convince him to back off." Amy insisted, her hands squeezing Lily's as if hoping to channel strength through the connection. An idea sparked in Mark's mind. "What if I face him alone?" "Are you crazy?" Amy's voice raised slightly, caught off guard by his suggestion. "What if I'll be careful? Just let me handle this." He felt a fire igniting within him. "Besides, he knows I'm here. The longer we keep him waiting, the bigger the threat to our safety." Lily looked up, confusion shadowing her small face. Mark knelt beside her, brushing her hair back and forcing a smile. "Sweetheart, we just have to listen for a moment. Okay? Everything will be all right." Her big eyes searched his, and for a brief instant, Mark felt that same weight from the city, this impossibly heavy burden of fatherhood and expectation. Jake returned, a sturdy broom handle in hand, face flushed with adrenaline. I got this. Good. Mark took a steadying breath and nodded at Jake's preparation. Stay here with your mother. I'll try to reason with him, but if things get bad we'll protect Lily. We promise, Amy added, her voice strong in a way that made Mark feel a little lighter. Mark moved toward the door, his heart racing. With one last look over his shoulder at his family, he placed his hand on the doorknob, praying it wouldn't be as bad as he feared. He opened the door a crack, enough to see Victor leaning against the porch rail, his expression unreadable. Mark, Victor said smoothly, the corner of his lips curling slightly. I knew you'd be here. Why are you here? Mark challenged, his voice firm, even if his insides turned to ice. Let us just say, we need to settle some old scores and you're going to help me. The weight of Victor's words settled heavily in the air. Mark could feel the room behind him tense, anticipation hanging thick like fog. Or what? Mark asked, in a voice that barely masked his fear. Victor's smile widened, a grin that felt more like a threat than anything else. Oh, I think you know. It's time for you to choose what kind of man you really are. With that final statement, it felt like the ground beneath Mark shifted again, and he realized they were on the precipice of something monumental. What kind of man would he be? Would he protect his family at all costs, or would he cave under the weight of Victor's threat? As he stared into Victor's eyes, the question burned fiercely. What was the price of safety and how far was he willing to go to protect those he loved? Mark stood at the door, his heart racing with every thud echoing in his ears. Victor's piercing gaze met his, the darkness behind it sending waves of anxiety through him. He had faced many challenges in life, but this felt different, more personal, more dangerous. Standing here, he felt many things, fear, anger, but also a burning determination. What do you mean settle some old scores? Mark demanded, forcing the words past the lump in his throat. Victor chuckled softly, the sound curling like smoke in the cold air. There's no need for theatrics, Mark. You and I both know how this works. You owe me information, and you know things, secrets that need to stay buried. You either share them willingly, or his voice trailed off, the unspoken threat hanging heavy. Mark clenched his fists at his sides, trying to summon the strength he had found so often in the Breakfast Nook, the laughter, the love, the community he had learned to cherish. I'm not helping you, he said firmly, feeling the warmth of Amy's presence behind him. He knew she was listening, felt her strength coursing into him like electricity. You've forgotten how much influence I still have, Victor snapped back, his smile twisting into something dark. You think you can hide away with your little family? You think I'll let you just walk away from your past? Mark sensed the tension creeping behind him, felt Amy's heartbeat quickening. But in that instant, he made a choice. He would protect his family, no matter the cost. Enough! Mark shouted, stepping fully outside but keeping the door slightly ajar behind him. If you want a conversation, then talk. No threats, no games. Victor paused, intrigued. What's the game you're playing at? You don't really think you can walk away from this, do you? Mark shook his head, recalling the strength of the community he had grown to love. You don't understand. I've built something here, a family, and I'm not going to let you destroy it. A family? Victor scoffed, his eyes narrowing. What a weakness. Mark took a deep breath, drawing strength from memories of laughter shared with Amy and the kids. No, Victor. It's my power. You've done your worst, but you don't get to define who I am anymore. Victor smirked, but there was uncertainty hidden in his eyes. And what will you do if I don't let this go? What then? Mark squared his shoulders, feeling the protective instinct surge within him. He glanced back at the cabin, where Amy waited, the warmth of their lives together illuminating his resolve. Then you'll discover that you're not the only one who can play this game. If my past comes to haunt me, it'll haunt you too. For a moment, the world felt still. Victor's expression shifted, a flicker of doubt crossing his face as if he hadn't expected Mark's defiance. You think you can threaten me? I'm not threatening you, Mark corrected, his voice steady. I'm warning you. The last time I stood in front of you, I was scared. But now, this is me, fully awake. And at that moment, Mark felt a shift in the air, a sense of liberation. He wasn't that uncertain man anymore. He had reclaimed his life. He glanced back at Amy, who was watching him with fierce pride, and Lily and Jake, who stood resolute, knowing they'd do anything to protect one another. The unity they shared made them formidable. Victor took a step back, assessing Mark anew, and something like respect flitted across his features. You've changed, Mark. But I know how imperfect you can be. Mark sneered slightly at that. I'm not perfect, but I'm willing to fight for peace. This is my life now. I will face my past, but not on your terms. Victor's smirk faded. You really think this is over? It's just begun, Mark replied, finding a deep well of resolve. As Victor turned, frustration etched across his face, Mark felt an overwhelming wave of relief wash over him. The man began to step back into the shadows, but the tension still lingered. They had stood firm, together. Inside the cabin, Amy moved to him, wrapping her arms around him tightly. You were incredible, she whispered into his shoulder, her voice thick with emotion. I never once doubted you. Mark pulled back, searching her eyes. Thank you for trusting me, for standing with me. You're not alone, remember that, she reassured him, voice steady as the weight of their trials lessened under the light of their united strength. Jake and Lily joined them, gathering around Mark like a shield. We're family, Jake said, and Lily nodded, eyes wide with determination. Always together. Mark looked at them, his heart swelling with a fierce love that radiated warmth through the cold uncertainty of the world outside their sanctuary. Always together, he echoed back, lifting Lily and Jake into a hug. The memories of laughter and resilience echoed around them, reclaiming their power. As the sun began to peek through the trees, illuminating the cabin, Mark realized something monumental. They had faced the shadows together. Whatever Victor would threaten them with, they had already won by choosing to stand united against the darkness. And for the first time, Mark felt the shadows of his past receding, replaced by the bright promise of moving forward, together. You know what? Mark said, pulling away from the hug. Let us get to that video idea. Our story is worth telling. Let us build our future, one moment at a time. As the laughter filled their small cabin, despite the uncertainty left in the world outside, Mark felt hope blooming brightly. Together, they would rewrite their story. In that moment of pure connection, he knew, for every shadow that loomed, there was a light waiting to break through. And as he held his family tight, the future ahead felt exciting, full of potential ready to be written anew. You need to subscribe now to keep following our incredible story and not miss what's next. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help support our journey. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this thrilling conclusion. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means everything.